I'm a tiny taggart in a brave new world, gonna free this town. If you didn't know about me already, well, you know it now.
Hi guys, and welcome to Objectivist Girl. I'm Lauren if you haven't met me already. So lately we've been talking a lot about Soviet Russia and socialism in general. So today we're going to go over Red China because it really was one of the very first Soviet unions. So the first Soviet was the Heffelfeng Soviet, created in 1927. The Central Soviet was the main base of the Communist Party, where Communist Party leader Mao Zedong issued a directive on the 1st of September of 1931 for the Central Soviet to mass mobilize the region as a base area. As problems occurred over being able to control territories outside the Central Soviet, by 1933, a full transfer of the Communist forces to the Central Soviet was achieved. Upon the intervention of the Soviet Union against Japan in World War II in 1945, USSR forces invaded the Japanese client state of Manchukuo. Mao Zedong, in April and May 1945, had planned to mobilize 150,000 to 250,000 soldiers from across China to work with forces of the Soviet Union in capturing Manchuria. China long ago had dumped the core of the communist economic system, replacing rigid central planning with commercially minded state enterprises that coexisted with a vigorous private sector. Yet, for all their liberation of the economy, Chinese leaders have been careful to keep control of the commanding heights of politics through the party's grip on these three Ps: personnel, propaganda, and the People's Liberation Army. So they had a more free economic system than is usual in a communist state, but they kept control over the people by keeping track of personnel, propaganda, and the People's Liberation Army, especially the People's Liberation Army, of course, because you have to keep track of the army first and foremost when you have a monopoly on force. So perhaps most importantly, the party dictated all senior personnel appointments at ministries and companies, universities, and the media. So most importantly, the party dictated all senior personnel appointments in ministries and companies, universities and the media, and a shadowy and little-known body called the Organization Department. And you'll see this in We the Living. You actually see that there is a department that keeps track of everything that people do, from where they live, to who they marry, to when they're leaving the country, to how much they eat, and everything else that they do. Through the department, the party oversees just about every significant position in every field in Red China. Clearly, the Chinese remember Stalin's dictate that the cadres decide absolutely everything. So no question, China was a totalitarian state under Mao Zedong's rule from 1949 until his death in 1976. In those old days, ordinary workers had to ask their supervisor if they could get married, and on top of that, if they could move in with their spouse. Even the precise timing for starting a family relied on a nod from up high. So as you can see, rights are not innate in Red China or a Soviet society. It is a society where most life decisions must be made based on what is good for the general welfare, which really means what is okay with the people in charge. If we don't want to end up like Soviet Russia and Red China, we need to make sure we protect our First Amendment and our Second Amendment rights very dearly. It's important that we protect all of our constitutional rights, but mostly those two. Because when it comes time, and when people get sick of living under a totalitarian dictatorship, we need to have the ability to protest peacefully and conceal and carry as well as open carry. We need to be able to protect ourselves from the state because someday this could be us too. So thank you for watching, and remember guys, knowledge is not for all men but for those who seek it. So keep seeking.